Hello and welcome back. Today we return to talking about New York City and the very biased and terrible liberal leadership that's ruining that once great city. We, of course, have covered this a couple of times. More specifically, during the health crisis, New York City came onto everyone's radar because it was one of the places that was the worst hit by this pandemic. It had a lot of reasons going into that, mostly because of its terrible mayor named De Blasio. De Blasio is a very biased, terrible liberal guy who has been mismanaging this city for years. And it came to light, especially during the corona outbreak, because everyone was getting sick there and he was kind of ruining the response. He wasn't telling people to do the right things, telling them to wear masks, not to wear masks, this and that. And it's led to what's happening now, too, because now we can see how biased he is depending on how he responds to certain events. Recently, there was a big protest and demonstration, a Black Lives Matter thing happened in Brooklyn, and that was highly encouraged by everyone on the left, including the mayor, including all the medical experts. They said, hey, go to this rally, go check it out. And then we saw thousands of people in the streets, like all over the place, and that's fine. I mean, that's their right if they want to go out and do this and support this cause. No one's trying to stop them. But the point is the hypocrisy, because at the same time, these same liberals are saying, for one, we can't have conservative demonstrations. They were protesting whenever we had a conservative demonstration a few weeks ago trying to end the lockdowns. And then now, this week, they're setting up a Trump rally for his reelection, and they're saying we can't have that. But more specifically, let's get to New York City, because this story is really, really biased and terrible. And it's talking about how de Blasio is closing these parks in Jewish communities, this big, really popular Jewish park. Well, as this tweet says, Joel Fisher says, this is happening now. Bill de Blasio is welding the gates at the biggest park in the Jewish community, Borough Park, Brooklyn, so your child couldn't try and break in, while hundreds of thousands of people gathered yesterday at Brooklyn Museum. So the hypocrisy is there. It's right in your face. Conservative causes are bad, while also, liberal ones are encouraged. I don't know what the difference is. I don't know why they think they could just blatantly in your face, like kind of lie to you and say, this is okay, this isn't. But that's where we're at today. I'm not sure what he has against Jewish people either. They are a strong, very vibrant community, especially in New York City. But he's clearly trying to close them down, trying to shut down their park while also encouraging these other people to gather for the right cause. And that's where you could just see how biased things are. There's a Hasidic Jew walking by. These are the workers right there, welding the gate shut. I mean, just really ridiculous, over the top. And it's all because what? A couple people want to go to the park, maybe? I don't see it being overly crowded or anything. I'm sure you could still social distance. I don't get why these situations are different and how they can just use this virus as an excuse. That's the real truth here. That's what's really going on, is the virus is used as their excuse to kind of do what they wanted to do anyway. They wanted to close this park, clearly. They wanted to stop these Jewish people from gathering and getting together and whatever, hanging out, enjoying their lives. And that's why it's just a total backlash, and then things are coming back to haunt them. And that, I think that's why it's interesting to get to the next part of the story, because it's actually kind of revealing and exciting, because this frustration, as this article says, frustration over closed parks caused protesters to cut the locks of the Brooklyn playground. As we just went over, that park has now been cut open. We see the fence now having these Jewish guys. They've got their yarmulkes, they've got bolt cutters, and they're reopening the park. They're taking back their community, which is pretty bittersweet, like pretty ironic, since the liberals have been doing these kinds of like protests and this kind of like stuff over and over. So it's kind of funny to see it thrown back in their faces. Like, they've the ones that are kind of attacking stores, burning down Wendy's, protesting this, like taking down statues, just kind of like taking the law into their own hands. And that's why it's really rich to see the other side of it and someone coming against them and opening this park, which I think deserves to be open. I think if people can go and protest and go to these BLM things, they should be able to go to the park. And people can just make their own decisions at this point. The virus has clearly been overhyped. I'm not saying it's not there. I'm not saying it's not dangerous. Be careful. Wear a mask if you want, or wash your hands a lot, whatever. But you should also have the freedom to choose. And that's what's really, really interesting and exciting to see here. Let's read on into the story then. This is from Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Mayor de Blasio has not yet responded over frustration over closed parks led protesters in Brooklyn to cut the locks from a local playground. A rally was held by members of the Orthodox Jewish community at 5 p.m. on Monday outside Middleton Playground in Williamsburg in an effort to call upon the mayor to open the gates and allow children to play. Video shows protesters use a bolt cutter to open the lock to the gate and enter the playground. Now, this normally could be seen as a very bad, negative, illegal act, but with all the context going on here, with this happening across the country, liberals doing this all over New York already, I mean, it's just kind of been encouraged to the point where how can you hold it against these guys after you've seen so many leftists pull the same thing? Now, I'm still against, breaking the law. Law and order should still stand strong. We should respect things, but in this case, I mean, you could kind of understand. I know that might sound hypocritical, but it's really just a matter of fairness and throwing this back in the liberals' faces, like showing them that, okay, if you guys are going to be these kinds of crazy, wackadoo people not following everything, then it could happen to you too. And then you're going to be very, very upset and kind of shocked. And it's just funny to see these liberals react to that. But before we move on, let's check out this video. Ooh, watch out for that guy. He's okay. He's okay. He's up. Shalom, my brothers. Let's throw a fiesta. No, that's Spanish. Let's get a, what do you call it? Bar mitzvah. Bar mitzvah at the park. Well, that's a good little taste of what was going on there. And it's good to see them reclaiming their community, standing up to these radical leftists who are ruining the city and just being biased and just terrible. Like, it's just really offensive how in their face it is. Assemblymember Joseph Lintel, who held the rally, issued the following statement. When attending today's rally, I say I believe that the playground should be open and said so very strongly. While I did not see the locks being cut, I understand the frustration which would lead that to happening. Our families do not feel that they are being heard. I see this rally as a peaceful message, the clipping of the locks as a strong signal that the families are unhappy and fed up. They want activities for their children and they want to be heard. The city must come up with a better plan than cutting off access to playgrounds entirely, Linto said. I agree with all of that. I understand his position and kind of staying away from the bolt cutting. There is a small illegal act in there, but it's just an act of protest, not really much worse than just demonstrating and blocking traffic, which a lot of these other protesters do. But I think the other point here is, and I think this is very relative, it's the fact that this is a family place. They're trying to shut down places where kids play. And we all know that liberals and leftists, they hate the American family. They hate the kind of American dream, a mom and a dad getting together, having a couple kids, a dog. They're not for that. So them kind of closing down this park for kids, it kind of ties into that. And I would say even that it's probably part of their agenda, because the other events are cool, like Black Lives Matter. These people are all single. They're all supposed to be encouraged to be like promiscuous, don't get married. They want you to get rid of your kids, all this kind of stuff. So those things are okay. And those are encouraged even. They're supporting Black Lives Matter and supporting these alphabet communities, these other kinds of things that are anti-traditional family. And I see them closing down this park as part of that too. There's kids there. There's a lot of these Jewish communities. Jewish communities tend to be very family-oriented, very, they get married, they have kids, they teach them their religion. They're all, they have a good system, and that's why they have strong base, and Jewish people are very successful. And that's a thing that's a threat to the liberals. They want people to be unsuccessful. They want you to be struggling, separated, single, and dependent on them. They want you to be dependent on that nanny state, getting your welfare. The stronger you are independent-wise, the more your family has strength. Like, and if you're married and you have kids, like, you guys bond together and you have your own unit. That's not the way the liberals want to work. They want to have you as part of their group and part of their system, kind of like the communists do, or these other very biased groups. They want you to not have a relationship. They don't want you to love anything because they want you to just lean on them and love the government. The New York City Parks Department says, just like all the playgrounds in this city, Middleton is currently closed. They say the playground has been broken into at least 25 times in recent weeks. Due to the repeated breaches, the Parks Department says they welded one of the 4 entrances shut on Monday morning as a short-term fix. They later unwelded the entrance and replaced it with locks and chains. So I understand the safety issues. You want to keep your town safe, and you want to kind of keep out these criminals. But who are these criminals? Why aren't the cops arresting them? Like, that's the real problem, is the liberal leaders aren't taking action. They're letting the rioters and looters take over the city. And really, the only people getting punished are these families and the real law abiding taxpayers who are just trying to live our lives and operate and function like normal. Like, we're the ones that have to foot the bill and also have to suffer and not have these kinds of benefits to our city. So it's okay for the protesters to go around, rob places, and take over parts of the town, and they'll get arrested maybe, but then they get let go and not even punished. But on top of that, next they want to lock up these things and not let kids go out and play. It's just a total mess, and it's total failure by the mayor. Mayor de Blasio should be ashamed. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets voted out or removed soon. I know the Governor Cuomo already talked about doing something with him. He's a very bad actor, just the worst kind of guy. And this goes to show that New York City has a lot of problems, and there's also some offensiveness and racism and possible anti-Semitism, definitely anti-conservatism and anti-family lines in here. But besides that, the fact of the matter is they're getting a taste of their own medicine. They're seeing this protest attitude and this kind of rebellious nature get thrown back on them, which is really fun to watch. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Also hit that like button to help get this video shared. And until next time, you guys have a great day.